the match official, that is the center referee, or maybe they noticed it, but the penalty that was awarded was maybe lenient. It's now the work of the citing commissioner to go and review the footage of the game, identify the foul play, and then sanction it according to the World Rugby laws. We have specific laws that govern our sanctioning. Yes, so that is the work of a citing commissioner.
So as you cite and you recommend whatever you recommend, does it affect that game at that time, Ama?
No, it does not really affect the game, because most of our sightings are done after the game. So you will identify it during the game, but then the everything else will be done after the game. There's usually a time period that we're given between 30 minutes to 24 hours. And then now every tournament or every game usually has someone we call a DDO, a designated disciplinary officer, or the tournament director. So you just go and after you have identified the foul play, you go and tell either the DDO or the tournament director, and then now it's their work to now follow up on whatever is required. If it's a hearing, because I believe every sport has a hearing. So even in rugby you have a hearing. So if a hearing is required, the tournament director or the DDO will notify the team manager and the player, and then they'll go for the hearing. And then now the judicial, because in rugby we also have judicial officers, so now the judicial officers will judge, and decide.
So is it, I could be wrong, but could I say it's more of the match commissioner what we have in football?
I believe it's the same thing, but now also in rugby you have a match commissioner. Though now in rugby the match commissioner is more focused on making sure the games happen, the tournaments happen. So they plan everything from the tournament beginning to the end. But they also, if there is no DDO, then it is the match commissioner who will handle whatever citing report we give them, and then now they forward it to the judicial officers. Yes,
and also so that now you are the only woman in Kenya.
Yes,
with that accreditation.
Yes, with the accreditation.
How do you feel about it, and how did you think to go and do this course? Because I'm sure there's a course.
Yeah, there's a course.
Yes. What was your thought process, and you ukaamua, this is what I want to do, and this is my path, I want to follow this path? Okay,
so like I said earlier, I was a player. I played rugby, but then I realized that rugby, first of all, rugby in Kenya is not a professional sport, so you can't really earn from it. But then also, it's a highly contact sport, meaning the chances of you getting injured are very high. So I figured, because you can't play rugby for the rest of your life, but I still want to serve the sport, I started off as a team manager. Then I realized that there are also other avenues that I can serve the sport. One of them was citing. And I also did my research, and I figured that we don't have as many female citing commissioners in Africa, actually, not only in Kenya. And so I spoke to one of our citing commissioners. He's called Mr. Absalom, and he's the one who does the courses. And he just told me, I wanted to do it since 2021, but we didn't have enough quorum, so we had to push it till 2025 this year. And I just informed him, and I also informed Kenya Rugby Union that I'm interested in doing the course. So when the course was offered, I think it was in June or July in Mombasa, my club Mamba Rugby just sponsored me, and I went and did the course. So it was also because when you're a sports administrator, it's usually right to understand the game from all angles. So I figured, as a team manager, sometimes maybe a referee will make a call that is right, but you think it is not right. And most of the times you'll find team managers and coaches complaining on the touchline. So I said, for me to get a better understanding so that I don't just complain, I think it will be easier if I go and do the course. So that is also one of the things that motivated me to do the citing course.
How long was the course?
It was a 4-day course. So Thursday, Friday was the classwork, and then Saturday, Sunday we did the practicals during Driftwood Sevens. And so I am lucky enough because I did the entire circuit. So I just spoke to the citing commissioners, and I requested to shadow them. There's something called shadowing a citing commissioner, whereby when they are working, you just sit with them.
And you see.
And you see what they're doing. If there is a citing incident, you see to them as they do the report, so that you're also good at it. So that is what I did for 6 legs, from June to September to August. And then I got my accreditation. Yes.
As a citer, if there's a word like that. As a citer, who is the employer then? Who can employ you?
So it depends, because the main employer is World Rugby.
Yes.
They're the ones who do they do the course and the accreditation. But now I will say my employer is Kenya Rugby Union, because I cannot do any citing I cannot cite any tournament outside Kenya without recommendation from my union. So my main employer is Kenya Rugby Union, and then now that falls under Rugby Africa, and then the main employing body is World Rugby. Yes.
And so far in Kenya, how many citing commissioners do we have?
I believe we have 6, if I'm not wrong. Either 6 or 7. We are less than 10. Yes.
And you're the only female.
I am the only female.
Now that sounds like a very dominated men field. What kind of, I know ndio umeanza, but what kind of difficulties or challenges you foresee in an environment that is dominated by the male gender?
I think the main challenge that I foresee, and it is a challenge that I have experienced even as a team manager, because still as a TM I was a TM in a male-dominated sport. So there's usually that notion that ladies don't understand the game. So I believe, I'm not saying it is what will happen, but I am sure I will encounter incidents where someone will be like, how do you know, and you are a girl. There's usually that assumption that ladies don't understand the sport, especially the sport of rugby. And so most times, I'm not saying everyone, but of course you'll find a few characters who believe that you can't cite because you're a lady. Yes. So I think that is one of the main challenges that I'm going to experience.
Yeah, and I want us to go now a bit nyuma kidogo. How did you get into rugby?
A girl. Was a girl from where?
A girl from Nyahera.
Kisumu person.
Well, I think I usually say I'm very blessed when it comes to my journey in rugby, because I come from a family of athletes. My mom played volleyball, my dad played rugby in high school at Lenana, and then he switched to basketball, and then I have an uncle who played rugby, and his son also played rugby. So I grew up knowing the sport. I started watching rugby in class 3. Up until, if my parents are watching this, they'll know where I was going when I was running away from home. But yeah, I started watching rugby in class 3. But then in class 6 I went to boarding school, so I couldn't watch it as much. But then I joined high school, and I have grown up in Nakuru. From nursery school to campus, I've studied in Nakuru. So of course I was watching a lot of Nakuru rugby. And then some of my classmates in primary school, because I was in a mixed school, were playing rugby. So whenever we met, because I was playing basketball at that time, but whenever we met during the high school games, I would go and watch their rugby, and then they'd come and watch our basketball. And I played basketball. They didn't have rugby for ladies, so I played basketball. They didn't have rugby for ladies, so I played basketball. But then there's a friend of mine, basketball. But then there's a friend of mine who we were with in Iganald Watch. He got a call up to Dubai, if I'm not wrong. He had traveled to play for one of the, at times at 3, 2 a.m. So I used to go and watch the games at the student center. And it was, Egerton had a rugby team called Wasps. So we used to go and watch with the Wasps players. So one day when we were watching the games, Don was playing, and guys started an argument. And people who know me know that I never pass up an opportunity to argue. So we started arguing, and I think I was winning the argument, because the person I was arguing with told me, there's nothing you can tell me, and you've never played this sport. So that was a friend. So I went there, I supported the team. So I just went and talked to the ladies coach, what was his name, Felix Listo. And I just told him, my name is Joyce. I introduced myself. I told him I'm interested in playing rugby, but I'm a basketball player. So the main reason for me playing rugby works for both sports. And on Sunday I started my training, and that's how I started playing. On Sunday I started my training, and that's how I started playing. The sport, because it's very challenging, so I couldn't really play. But in primary and high school, so they needed someone to chaperone the kids. So I started traveling with the players, and when parents wanted to find out about their kids who had traveled. And then kidogo the club just approached me and asked if I'd be interested in being the club team manager, the ladies team manager. So I started being TM in the men from 2018 7th circuit.
Yeah.
So I was the assistant shifted from Nakuru to Mwamba.
Yeah.
Mwamba Rugby. Yes.
Yeah.
Mwamba Rugby. Yes.
As you were starting.
Well, my dad was not. At first, they were skeptical because of the injury factor. But then, when they realized that I am very passionate about it, they just started supporting. Because, like I said, I believe I'm very lucky. I'm lucky enough to come from a family that supports sports. So if they see I'm growing and I'm benefiting from it, they'll always support. Yeah. So that is that. The reaction at first, they were afraid of the injury discussion points. Yeah. So they just support it.
Yeah. And something interesting you've said you played basketball.
Yes.
How was it transitioning from basketball to rugby? Because they're very different. Extremely
different
to rugby. Because they're very different. Extremely different.
They are.
Yeah.
It was hard at first because you see, for example, in rugby, the most basic thing that people struggle with is in rugby you pass the ball backwards.
Backwards, yes.
And in basketball you pass the ball anywhere as long as your teammate is there.
Yeah.
So that was a challenge. I had a lot of forward passes, but I think even from the coaches I have worked with and from the people I've interacted with, most of them say that basketballers make the best rugby players because of our ball handling skills.
Yeah.
So we are very good at ball handling and all that. But it was also it was very challenging for me because you cannot compare the two pitches. First of all, the two pitches are very extreme. I remember the first time I went for training that Sunday, I was told to run a 3 km. We used to call them 3 kms, and it took me almost an hour to do a 3 km. Because in basketball I'm used to shuttles, but now here you're just running continuously for 3 kilometers. Yeah, but I think also basketball really helped me get acquainted to rugby with regards to skills, because I wasn't coming fresh of not having played any sport. So that really helped. Yeah, but it was not an easy transition.
Yes. And just remembered when we started, we were talking about your accreditation, and I just remembered something to do with the young girls who are listening to you right now, or have read that you are the first Kenyan woman to be accredited by World Rugby as World Rugby Citing Commissioner. What lessons can they get from that, or what kind of inspiration can they draw from that?
I think one thing I like telling the young girls, because I really like working with young girls in sports.
Yes.
And one thing I always tell them is be persistent. Be persistent, because for me, I wanted to do the course in 2021. So if I wasn't persistent, I would not have done the course this year. I would have given up. But I always had a running reminder every Saturday for a citing course. So you can imagine I've had a running reminder for 4 years of citing course. So every time there was a tournament, I'd reach out to the education department at KRU and ask them, when is the citing course being done? So I'd ask them to be persistent. But also, one thing I like telling people is be in a good relationship with your clubs and your unions, because it is through the clubs and the unions that you get opportunities to do these courses. So if you can imagine, if you're not in a good relationship with your club, and then there is a course like now the Citing Commissioner's course, ours was done in Mombasa. I was sponsored by my club, Mwamba Rugby. So if you're not in a good relationship with your club, it's going to be very hard for them to even trust you enough to support you. So just be persistent and have a good relationship with your club and your union, because if there's an opportunity, there are some courses that are done outside the country, like the match commissioner course in rugby is done either in the UK or in South Africa. So if there's an opportunity to do that course and you're in a good relationship with your union and your club, they will forward your name, they will even sponsor you to go and do that course. But mostly just be persistent, because they don't come, they're few and far apart. So just be persistent in it and don't give up.
Yes, and something interesting you mentioned as well about safeguarding. You're also a safeguarding officer?
Yes, I'm a safeguarding and child protection officer.
Yes. Can you tell us more about your role? And of course, again, when we talk about children as well, we talk about women, because again, as you said, the sport is more or less, it's very male dominated. So safeguarding is very important, especially for children and the women. Yes. Can you just tell us more about your role and your passion for that?
So when it comes to safeguarding, I look at it from different angles. First of all, when we speak about safeguarding, people think it's just children and women, but also men are vulnerable when it comes to safeguarding. Any person is vulnerable when it comes to safeguarding. And for me, it was very important, because like I said, when I started playing rugby, I think apart from 3 other ladies, everyone else was in school, either high school or primary school. And in rugby, like every other sport, like every other career in the world, there are people who tend to prey on vulnerable children and vulnerable people. And when I noticed that there was a gap when it came to safeguarding in rugby, and I approached my team, Nakuru. I forgot to say that I'm also a teacher by training. I'm a trained high school teacher, and for teachers, it is compulsory that you do the safeguarding course. It is a must because you're working with children. So I just approached the club and I told them these are the things I've noticed that are happening, and these are areas where I feel like our girls may be vulnerable. So what can we do about it? In Nakuru, I didn't really have the title safeguarding and child protection lead because I was also new to safeguarding. I'd just I'd just finished campus. I had not done my safeguarding course, but I saw that there was something that if we weren't keen at it, we were going to lose a lot of players. So I just told them, and so in Nakuru, my ladies, even right now, I usually call them my ladies, but even right now I'm in Nairobi, but they know if they have an issue, they can call me. And I usually just go back. I have a relationship with the club. So if there's an issue, I talk to the secretary or I talk to whoever is there, and I just tell them this is what a player has told me, and I think this is how we are supposed to handle it. Nakuru had an age grade side. Mwamba also has an age grade side. And I think it's important for teams that have age grade sides, meaning kids who are below the age of 18, to have a safeguarding, someone who is experienced in safeguarding, because if you expose a child to a situation where they are at risk and they are still kids, you might even break their spirit to continue in the sport. That's how we end up losing so many players, because unfortunately it's well known that very many girls stop playing sports because either they drop out of school or they get pregnant. And anyone who is under 18 who gets pregnant, that falls under safeguarding. It doesn't matter who it was, even if they were married. I believe there are communities where kids get people under 18 get married, but it's still safeguarding. And if you really value your players, and if you really value the sport, and if you really want them to grow, then safeguarding should be at the forefront of every club and every team, because that is the easiest way to retain your players. If your players are comfortable and they feel safe within the sport setup, then they'll still be there. So I figured that for us to have the sport, an active sport and a sport that grows, we need to be very keen on safeguarding so that we don't lose our girls. And we don't lose our vulnerable players, not just the girls. Yes.
What measures do you think the federations and the clubs then should put in place when it comes to safeguarding?
First of all, I think every club and every federation should have an updated safeguarding policy. They should have, that is usually the first thing that I usually say, do you people have a safeguarding policy? It is very important. So once you have the safeguarding policy, then everyone knows the rules that govern that club when it comes to safeguarding. For example, if you know that it is illegal to have a relationship between the coaches and the players, I don't expect any coach to come to the team and now start approaching players in a romantic way, because it is in our policy. And I think once you have the policy and everyone signs it, it's easier now to implement the safeguarding measures that you've put in place. Because if you don't have a policy, then someone will just say they didn't know. And it is just a very simple document where you read do's and don'ts, and then what governs, and then you sign it. It's as simple as that. So I think the first thing that every club and federation should do is have a safeguarding policy. That really helps, and that really helps, especially to guide us. But then after that, I think also we need to be very keen when it comes to following up on safeguarding incidents that are reported. Because I don't think if a girl comes to me and reports something that falls under safeguarding and nothing is done, then no other girl will come and report. And if that happens, then it means the people who are preying on these vulnerable boys and girls will keep doing it, because they know even if it's reported, nothing will happen. So let's just have safeguarding policies, and let's also have strict measures on how to handle safeguarding matters. Yes.
And also, would you recommend to have maybe now safeguarding at least every club to at least maybe just have a safeguarding officer or somebody where in case there's an issue, there's somebody to report to, especially for anonymity. I'm going there to tell you what happened, but you cannot disclose who I am. Just so that protecting the victim, that is.
I think every club should have a safeguarding officer or a safeguarding lead. It's very important, because, and also that person should be an upright, upstanding person, because you can't have a safeguarding officer who also has had incidents that fall under safeguarding. But I think it's very important because, like I said, I believe right now Nakuru have improved their measures when it comes to safeguarding, but there are times when I was in Nairobi and I used to handle issues. So I think to mitigate such instances, if every club had a safeguarding officer or a safeguarding lead, it will be easier to handle those things, and it will also build confidence in the players that our matters are being handled, because if there is no safeguarding officer or safeguarding lead and something happens, the player might even be afraid to go and tell the person who is in the position of power, maybe the coach or the team manager, because you also don't know who is the victim and who is the perpetrator. But if there is a safeguarding officer, then every club knows that if such a thing happens, this is the person who handles it, and even the players know them, and they also have it also builds that confidence that if I report, it's going to be followed through till the end. Yes.
Fantastic. Let's take a breather. When we come back, we shall continue. And only Kenyan woman credited by World Rugby as a World Rugby Citing Commission. When we come back.
SportyFM, Beyond Sport.
after 11 o'clock, and this is SportyFM. Of course, that was Fireboy saying the song is every day. And of course, when it comes to drinking, you can have steam energy drink every day to give you the energy that you want. That is from Pepsi. Sindio?
Yes, and of course as we continue with this conversation, we need energy kidogo. Ndio tuendelee ku have this in-depth conversations of course with Joy. And there are different options. And what I like about Pepsi is that they try and give people options.
Buffet
of options.
Yeah.
If you know you're somebody who loves the Mirinda brand, because kuna flavors pale kadhaa. You have the orange. If you like orange flavor, that is where you go. Fruity flavor, and of course your favorite, the green apple, pineapple, and lemon.
And we're talking about rugby, and rugby is that sport that you need a lot of energy.
Kabisa.
To make sure that you do the runs. Kwanza when I was watching the seven circuit that just ended, unaona vile wanakimbia kila time na kuchoka pia ni mwingi.
Yes.
You need the energy to do it.
Kabisa.
And that's where Pepsi comes in. And you can text the code under the bottle top to *459*3#. Let me just repeat that again. You can text the code under the bottle top to *459*3# and win instant airtime, which is guaranteed.
And of course here on the breakpoint on SportyFM tunasema is kunywa airtime na Pepsi.
Nitauliza Joy, among those flavors ni gani na mbamba?
Gani ni anapenda gani?
Inampatia sting.
Energy.
So you can take your time. It's time to break down everything. You know, on this show we don't make noise, we break points. We break down points, and you break down stress in bites and sips, because it is Pepsi Playtime on SportyFM's Breakpoint show.
Mambo ina flow easy. Ukikunywa free airtime with the Pepsi Playtime on the fresh SportyFM's Breakpoint. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on SportyFM. Breakpoint on SportyFM.
someone trying to break the glass ceiling in a male-dominated sport, so many doors will be shut on your face.
Yeah.
Just don't give up. Just keep pushing, and also try and reach out to someone you're comfortable with who has done it before you. So for example, for me, I'll say I'm very grateful because I have friends who worked in the sport before I joined this other side of the sport. Someone like Vanessa Dot, she was the team manager at Queens, and she really held my hands, especially there's a season that was very hard for me, and she was there. Someone like Eunice, Eunice is now in Uganda. She's a JO. So we have a female judicial officer, so there's no reason for us to say I can't do it, because you see, so just keep pushing, keep persisting, and don't be afraid to reach out, even if you there's no lady you are comfortable reaching out to. For someone like me, I reached out to AB, and with that I have my Citing Commission accreditation. So just look up, have a mentor who will guide you, and don't give up.
Yes. That's the right place to end it. That has been a fantastic conversation. But before I go, there's this thing I've always seen online, that rugby fans are always decent than football fans.
That is true. That is true. Decent, disciplined. Let me tell you, I've gone for a Gor Mahia match. Yeah, but I think
but pia wanasemanga pia rugby fans a bit
when they decide,
and they speak a lot of English.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Kizungu mingi.
Kizungu hapo. Hiyo hata wacha nimalize na Kiswahili ndio wasiseme. That is true.
Thank you so much. And of course, every time that we have guests here, we always try to make sure that kuna quotable quotes from them. And from Joy today, amesema ya kwamba be